So welcome everyone to this Explore Yoga session on Thursday the 23rd, St George's Day. You'll notice that the sound, the voiceover doesn't match with the video, so I am recording the voiceover afterwards as there was a problem with the mic. So today's session we're looking at shoulders, really getting some space into the shoulder girdle, the shoulder head, and all of these sort of complicated muscles in this ball and socket and gliding joint, and really getting a release of tension around the shoulders and the neck and the back of the head, down into the mid back and into the lower back. You might be noticing some effects there if you're carrying anxiety in that area, or particularly if you are more stationary than you normally would be. You're not moving around as much, and maybe you've got a home office setup that's quite different maybe from your workplace setup. So just notice how you're feeling in that area. We're going to need a couple of blocks. If you don't have yoga blocks, something of a similar size will do, and lightness. So this sort of shape, we're not going to be putting lots of pressure onto them, so we're not going to be propping the whole body, so they don't need to be mega strong. We're just going to be resting our hands on them and using our fingertips, so just pressing our fingers into them. So something quite light, sandwich box, Tupperware box, that sort of thing. A couple of those would be quite useful. If you've only got one, then you can do one side at a time. So have those ready at the side of the mat. And we're also looking at using a strap today. So you'll need your yoga strap, or maybe a scarf or a belt, or a sort of long piece of relatively sort of soft and comfortable fabric. So to bind your feet, to open your hips, and then to also potentially open your shoulders as well. And a blanket, and possibly a couple of sofa cushions as well if you find kneeling difficult. So we're going to be kneeling near the start. So if you need props for kneeling, then make sure you're comfortable. I'm carrying an injury, so I've got an injury in my left ankle, so you might see me guarding that thanks to running. So if I hold back from some poses on the left, that'll be why. So we're going to bring ourselves into practice. Slowly settle ourselves down onto the mat. If it's more comfortable for you to lie on the mat with your strap handy and your legs bent, then bend your knees and place your feet flat on the floor to release the lower back a little bit, so it's less strain on the lower back, if that works for you. Otherwise, settle yourself in a full sort of Shavasana-esque pose to bring yourself into practice. We're going to lift each shoulder up off the mat, roll the shoulder open and relay the shoulder in the arm. We're going to just lift each leg and stretch out, press through the soles of the feet or the heels of the feet, and just lift and lengthen the lower back, the sacrum. Lift your head, stretch through the top of the head, tuck the chin in and relay the head. And here we're just going to settle and just make sure that we're comfortable. It was Earth Day 2020 yesterday, so it feels appropriate to earth yourself into the mat. Resting here, breathing, directing the breath into the belly and to any other part of the body that's moving easily with the breath, nothing forced. And just being honest with yourself about where you are at today, how you're feeling. Breathing into those areas of tension and breathing to calm the mind. So switching the body into the breath. So taking the time here to make sure that you are settled, tuning into your body and your breath, into your yoga, and setting your intention for today. So gathering your bandhas in, I'm going to gather the right knee into the chest. So breathing out, gathering it in, and breathing in, releasing it off lightly. So just releasing it off lightly on the in-breath and then gathering it back in on the out-breath. The other leg can be straight or bent depending on how your low back and hips are feeling. So just continue that movement, breathing and releasing on the in-breath. Just taking your time to notice when the hip is released. And then when you're ready, swapping over to the other side. Breathing in to release and then breathing out, hugging that knee in and getting a bit of a deeper stretch. So breathing out on the effort and in on the reset. Out on the effort and in on the reset. Then when you're ready, bringing both knees into the chest. So rolling around, classic Apanasana to release the sacral area of the back, rolling around if that feels good. And then grabbing your strap or your scarf or your belt, we're going to take two variations on this hip opener and shoulder opener. So there are two variations. If you did the vinyasa class on Monday, this is going to be familiar to you, and you can take the more intense version if you prefer. The initial version, so the initial variation is going to be one leg straight up. So left leg with the strap around the foot, belt into the right hand, and the supporting leg bent. We're going to draw the energy up the leg into the hip. So you're sucking the energy down the leg, back into the hips and the bandhas, and pushing the heel up towards the ceiling. The leg doesn't have to be mega straight. And then the left hand is going to be on the left of the belly as we just guide the leg over to the right. You're going to roll off. Normally we don't roll off. Normally we stretch over. But this time we're going to roll off and follow it over. But keep that activity in the bandhas and the leg, stretching away through the base leg, and just find where you can stay. So not too low, not too easy. Find where you can just settle. The option of the both legs is stretching the legs up to the ceiling, really pushing through the heels, avoiding the lockout of the knees, and just stretching right up and gathering that energy. Suck the bandhas in here. Same hand position, left hand on the left side of belly. Keep pushing down through the right arm and the right shoulder. The shoulders are drawing down the back as you bring the legs over to the side. So you are rolling off. You won't get down to the floor, hopefully. Quick Apanasana in the middle, hugging those knees into the chest and taking it over to the other side. So your option, you will strap around the right leg, left leg will be straight, right hand on the belly and opening out to the left side this time, or the straight legged version, so both legs up, pushing through the heels, draw the energy up the legs, fully engaging those bandhas as you carefully roll off, sliding the shoulders down the back and pushing that supporting hand into the floor. Keep breathing, not going too far, really sort of getting some early warmth and engagement into the torso and the bandhas, and also waking up the shoulders. So carefully does it then. You can either roll onto your right hand side onto your knees and coming up to kneeling, or roll up to seated and arrange yourself into a comfortable kneeling position. So bringing yourself up onto your mats. You're going to need your blocks potentially, or your sofa cushions if you're finding that you're stiffening up from being a bit more sedentary. So careful with the kneeling, prop yourself if you need to. We're thinking about the alignment of the spine, so getting ourselves stacked over the sacrum, stretching up through the top of the head and getting ourselves nicely aligned. Comfortable here. Draw each shoulder round and back and really sort of swim the arms forward and back and just see if you can just release off those shoulders a little bit more before this next one. So we're going to bring that same principle of that sort of active engagement through the muscles. So sort of drawing all of the fascia, if you like, of the muscles in the limb together, just like we did with the legs. We're going to do it with the arms. So bring the arms out in front. Bring and push through the heels of the hands. The arms can be slightly bent, they don't have to be mega straight, and then we're going to move them out to the diagonal. So we're going to draw the shoulder blades round and down. So you're really drawing the shoulders back and down, and the shoulder blades are pushing into the back ribs as you then slide forward. Bring the shoulders up towards the ears, slide them all the way back round. So you're just exploring the pure range of movement of the shoulder. So you're stretching forward, pushing through the heels of the hands, lifting the shoulder girdle and the heads of the shoulders up towards the ears, rolling them all the way round. So you imagine you're sort of drawing the biggest circle that you can with your shoulder heads, your deltoids, the epaulette of the shoulder. It is quite hard work, this, and you will notice that you will start to get some lactic acid buildup, potentially in the forearms here around the wrists. So shake that out. It's quite strong, and just make sure that that's dissipated before we move on to the next set. So carefully does it then. We're going to bring ourselves and into this lovely hug. So we're going to widen our arms, really stretch wide through the shoulders and hug in, noting which arm is on top, tuck the chin in, drop it down. Proper hug with intent. Swap the arms over, so stretch wide. The other arm coming on top now. Hug in, drop the chin. Keep stretching through the top of the head though and dropping the shoulders away. Proper hug. So giving yourself a nice metta hug. And then we're going to carefully bring ourselves into a slightly different position. So we're going to open up the hands, roll the shoulders down, really sort of slide those shoulders around. They should be feeling quite sort of mobile now after our initial efforts. Going to bring ourselves into a down dog. So slowly bringing yourself in. We haven't done lots of movement, so take it easy. Soft elbows, soft knees, high heels. Focus on lengthening the spine out of the shoulders and away, out the back door. So keep nice and long. Stay static if you can, and just keep that length in mind. So nothing major, you can't quite see it there, but a soggy dog. Breathing here. Moving down to your knees. So we're sliding down now towards the floor. So we're going to bring ourselves into a prone position, lying on our fronts. Not the most comfortable for everybody. And here we're going to bring our shoulder work on a level. So if you've taken Monday's Vinyasa class, this will be familiar to you. We're going to bring our hands into our Sphinx pose. So the shoulder, the elbows are under the shoulder heads, slightly maybe squashed through the chest. I'm going to roll the shoulders up, back and down the back as we start to draw the heart through to the front. Stretch up through the top of the head and just really sort of bring the arms slightly together. The tension of the mat obviously is they're not going to move, but you just surface tension, you just need to hold that and lift and lengthen. So keep stretching and lengthening here. Breathing. It's not the easiest pose in the world, and maybe your lower back will be feeling it here. So pushing up then, if you are able to, either onto your knees or into the straight leg version of the forearm plank. So we really need to get the front end engaged properly here. So drawing the shoulders down the back, pushing the forearm and the hands into the floor, lifting up and lengthening. Holding. If you're in the straight leg version, really pushing away through all four corners of the feet and holding that pose. And then carefully bringing yourself back up to Sphinx, popping the hands through, the legs are down now, lifting and lengthening. Think long back. and then adjusting yourself back up into the forearm plank. So pushing away. If you're straight legged, you're really pushing through all four corners of the feet. The leg engagement is enormous. Draw the legs together a little bit just to help activate the deep muscles, the glutes in the bottom. Bend the legs, lie on your front, make a little pillow for your head, and just windscreen wipe your legs to release the lower back. So now we're going to bring our blocks or Tupperware boxes into play. So we're going to have them out to the side of the mat. They're going to be sort of landscape in shape, and we're going to place our hands on top of them. So we need to push them out to the side a little bit. So here you're going to look at where your elbow is coming straight out of the shoulder head. So we're looking at cactus arms. So you need to get your arms into cactus and then move the boxes into position, and it's going to be more forward and wider than maybe you imagine. And just check in with that conformation in the shoulder area. So just that elbow coming straight out of the shoulder head. Lovely. Lift each leg and stretch out. Keep long through the spine. Keep breathing. Roll the shoulders back, up and down. So you're pinning the shoulder blades into the back ribs. Then carefully does it. This isn't very easy. We're going to draw the shoulders down the back and lift the hands off the blocks. Up to you whether you balance on the chin or you turn the head to the side. Your call. Just keep the neck as relaxed as you can. It's not easy. Keep drawing the shoulders up and down the back and rolling them, the shoulder blades into the back ribs. Rest off a moment and just bring your legs up and settle. You might find that there's sort of lactic acid or some real sort of, you can feel a stretch or an engagement deep in the shoulder head there. So we're going to take it one more time. Bring those hands back into that cactus position. Roll the shoulders up and back, sliding them down the back and the shoulder blades pinning into the back ribs. Activate the body and the bandhas and lift those hands off the blocks. See if you can go a little bit higher on the second attempt. Keep breathing. Lovely. So releasing that off then. Moving those blocks out to the side. You don't need those for the moment now. We'll bring them back into play later. Going to bring ourselves into a swan stretch. So slide yourself back. Use your props if you need them, your bricks or your sofa cushions, and stretch away. A nice wide swan stretch, and then coming up into a down dog and bringing yourselves to the front of the mat. So sun salutation A, take a deep breath in, stretch up, soften the knees as you fold over, breathe in, extend. Ardha Uttanasana is an option here. Striding right, then left, knees or chaturanga to up dog, your call. So into up dog either via your knees or your chaturanga dandasana, opening up the pectoral muscles, dropping the shoulders down the back. Think about how you're going to create space around the shoulder and chest area. Pushing yourself back via your swan stretch if you need it, up into your down dog. Resting here. Striding left to the front of the mat, stretch away, breathing out, folding. Soften the knees, push the floor away very deliberately as you float the arms up, stretch up, drop the shoulders into position as you bring your hands to Namaste. Same again, number 2, deep breath in, sweeping up high, stretch up, and breathe out, soften the knees and fold. Breathe in, extend. Ardha Uttanasana, an option here, hands on shins. Step left, then step right. Chaturanga to up dog or knees down to your up dog if you usually go down to the floor using your knees to save your back. Into your down dog, settle here. Shorten the stance a little bit. Focus on getting that engagement in the shoulders just right. Move the weight forward if you need to, rolling the shoulders away. Keeping breathing here. settling and getting ready to move forward. So you're stepping left to the front of the mat, then right, stretching forward into your Uttanasana and breathing in all the way up and breathing out. So variation now on Sun Salutation B, where we're going to bring ourselves into an open or closed clasp humble warrior. So I'll talk you through it when we get there. We're also going to bring the blocks in at some point. So breathing in into your Utkatasana, soften the knees, sit down through the tail and draw the shoulder blades down the back. If it's too much on the lower back, then bring your hands down to Namaste. You don't have to have the hands high. Breathe out, fold, Uttanasana. Breathe in, extend, and then fold. You can step back or jump back if you're keen, and sliding through to knees to up dog or to your chaturanga to up dog. And breathe out, down dog. Sweep the right leg out the back door, or you can lift that leg high and bring it right up towards the ceiling, stretching and opening, and then bring it through to the front. Find your warrior one position. So this is just popping the toes out slightly to the side. Find that position where the knee is above the ankle, pushing down through both feet and getting yourself nicely leveled up. Sweep the arms forward and round. Open the chest, really pop the heart and the chest through. Lengthen the front of the body as you plug in through that back foot. Really sort of plug in and then breathe out. Gather your energy as you lengthen through the back and fold over, lifting the clasp and lifting that clasp mainly away from the back. So we're stretching up towards the back of the room, then the ceiling, lengthening up and away, resting on the thigh or going past if that's comfortable, but take your time with this one. It's stronger than it looks. And just keep lengthening the arms, pressing the heels of the hands together if they're closed, and stretching away. And just thinking about how straight your pelvis is. It's not absolutely straight, but straightening up. Push through the front foot, bring yourself back up. And then breathing out, place your hands either side of your front foot, chaturanga to up dog, or knees to floor to up dog. And then to your down dog or into your plank if you're not taking your down dogs. Settling here, lifting the leg, left leg this time, back or up, through to the front, finding that ideal alignment, knee above the ankle, pushing through to really get those quads working in the right way. Sweep the arms forward and round, opening up the chest, heart lifts, roll the shoulders open, drop the clasp as you lengthen the front of the body and really plug in through that right foot. Breathing here and then breathing out, gather your bandhas, gather your forces as you fold over into your humble warrior, lengthening the clasp away from the back. So keep lengthening and lifting, resting on the thigh. Keep lengthening and lifting those arms. Keep thinking along back as you bring yourself over into your humble warrior. Even weight through both feet here, feeling good engagement through all four corners of the feet. Keep breathing. And then push through that front foot. Follow that clasp all the way back up and release it off. Very nice. Shake out those arms, roll the shoulders, and then fold over, breathing out over that front leg, both hands to the floor, through your chaturanga to your up dog, or your knees to floor, lying down, and gentle up dog, or sphinx pose, and into your down dog, or a variation of settling here. Checking in with yourself, maybe checking in here particularly with your hips and your shoulders. So the way our hips and shoulders interact with each other is an interesting one. So just check in with those sort of X shape interaction. Right hip to left shoulder and left shoulder to right hip. And right shoulder to left hip, even. Stride forward, left leg, extend, breathe out, fold. Breathe in, push the floor away, bring yourself up. You're really sort of engaging those legs into your Utkatasana fierce pose, bringing those arms high, drawing the shoulders down the back. If that's too much on the lower back, then bring the hands into your Namaste position. Just check in that you're nicely balanced and bring yourself back up to Namaste, Tadasana, or Samastihiti. Well done, everyone. Nicely done. So carefully does it then. We're going to bring ourselves into our next set of poses. So it's going to be some side angle stretches and some forward stretches. So we're going to sort of really start to open up and adduct the hip joints here. So just make sure that you're going to be comfortable. Stretch up nice and tall. Really lift up and lengthen. Soften the knees into our Utkatasana to begin with, into our Utkatasana twist. Bring the hands together into Namaste. Level 1, opposite hand to opposite knee. Lengthen through the spine, banders engage, and draw back through the left hip. Level 2, bringing your arms into the Namaste position, hooking that opposite elbow over opposite knee. Or level 3, down to the floor and lengthening, and then draw that hip back into the socket, so you just start to level up those knees. Breathing here. Swap yourself over up into your central position. Find your Utkatasana again in the middle, and then we're going to swap over to the left hand side. So carefully does it. Option 1, opposite hand to opposite knee, rolling that shoulder, top shoulder open and stretching through the spine, pushing the floor away actively and using the banders. Level 2, Namaste hands, pushing in, lengthening through the top of the head, really breathing here. Keep breathing. And then option 3, down to the floor. And again, each side will be different, so carefully does it and draw back through the right hip just to level up those knees, and keep thinking of the alignment of the spine. Keep breathing here, stretching away. Option to look up if that feels good or not. Bring yourself back down to the center, extend and stretch away Ardha Uttanasana. Bring the hands to the shins, roll the shoulders up towards the ears, back and down. And then lift the head, lift the heart, dip the tail slightly and lengthen. So you feel the whole of the back engage in your Ardha Uttanasana, and breathe out, fold down to a full Uttanasana. So hands to the floor or wherever's comfortable, fists, you choose. Or you can then fold your arms, change the center of gravity and open up the lower back a little bit here. So you can stay here for a moment, releasing the lower back. Carefully does it then, bringing yourself out of this pose. It's bringing yourself up slowly, stacking the spine. So we're going to sweep the right leg now across the mat into our wide angle stretches. So the right leg goes back. You might want to turn sideways into your classic Prasarita Padottanasana A, so wide-legged forward folds. Okay, standing wide-leg forward folds, I should say. So make sure you've got the alignment where you've got the sides of the feet parallel with the short edges of the mat, or if you're into the sort of more advanced positions, bringing those toes in a little bit for slightly pigeon-toed version. Keep the knees soft. So we want a bit of softness in the knees here. We're not locking out the knees. We're going to really cement down through all four corners of the feet. So keeping well acquainted, all four corners, pushing down and lengthening up. Taking a deep breath in, and we're going to swap the arms over into eagle arms here. So it's an eagle arm variation of Prasarita. And we're going to bring the left arm over the right, drop the chin, drop the elbows, drop the shoulder heads, and guide those shoulder blades down the back. Lifting and lengthening through the spine now. The chin keeps tucking in as you lift the elbows into your eagle arms position, sort of flying eagle, as it were, lifting up. And then when you're ready, cementing through those legs. Cementing is the wrong phrase, actually. Really feeling active, and there's a sort of transfer of energy as you fold over. Keep the weight even through both feet. Keep sucking in the bandhas. Keep lengthening the spine. Breathing here, drawing the shoulders back down towards the tail with your arms in this Garudasana Eagle pose. Breathing. Soften the knees, push yourself all the way back up, release the elbows down and swap the arms over. Shake them out if you need to. It's quite a big stretch around that shoulder head into the deltoid here, so just be careful with that. And swapping the arms over. So this time it's going to be right arm over left. Drop the elbows, drop the chin. Keep lengthening through the spine, stretching up nice and tall, and breathing out. keeping nice and long here, and softening the knees off, lifting the elbows into that classic pose, opening up the shoulders, and then engaging the bandhas, engaging the legs really substantially here as you fold over. Softening the knees off to release the back if you need to. Okay, taking care of your alignment here, nice even weight through both feet, breathing here. Drawing those shoulders down the back. Breathing. Soften those knees off, push through the feet. Bring yourself all the way back up. Lower the elbows and release the arms. Release the shoulders, shake the arms out again if you need to. Good work, everyone. So, carefully does it then. Going to move ourselves into our next pose where we're going to open up the arms and the shoulders in a slightly different way. So bringing ourselves back into our Anjaneyasana. So this, sorry, I apologize. Yes, Anjaneyasana lunge. So we're bringing ourselves into a high lunge. The knee is off at the back and bent. The legs are substantially quite wide and the front knee is bent just above the ankle joint or just behind. So we're going to take our sandwich box or our yoga block. Going to find our Anjaneyasana, softening off at the back. We want good engagement through that front foot, pile driving down to switch on the four quads in the thigh. Dip the tail down and soften the back knee as you curl under and open the hip flexor and stretch up through the top of the head. Stretching up nice and tall. We're going to bend the elbows here and bring fingertips to the short side of the box or the block. And we're going to lift the elbows lightly, dipping the back, lengthening the front of the body, pressing the fingers in, and then start to straighten the back leg as we move that block away from the back. So there's quite a significant back arch here. Work carefully, as you can see, keep breathing. Carefully does it then. Really just push in and then away. Quite strong work through the shoulders. Release that off. Spin yourself over to the other side into the Anjaneyasana with the left leg back this time. So find your pose, soften that knee off at the back and bring your position right at the front, curling the tail under and stretching up and aligning the spine. Fingertips to the sides of the box or the block. Bend those elbows, lift the elbows, arching the back, popping the heart through to the front. Keep lifting the elbows, press the fingers in, and then lengthen the front of the body, straightening the back leg. It's strong work, this. It's quite significant around the lower back, but this will start to free off and latent tension that's trapped in the hips, the buttocks, and the lower back, all the way up to the shoulders. Keep breathing, release that off. Carefully does it. We're going to bring ourselves down to our high plank and up to our up dog. Carefully does it. Knees down if you need to. Push the feet into the floor in both poses, whether knees up or knees down. And then carefully does it, stretching back through to a swan stretch. If it's not comfortable here to have your arms wide, then obviously you can bring them in, bring the elbows in towards the body. Breathing here, stretching and lengthening. To have a couple of goes at it if you need to oil those hips. Lovely. Thinking about the length of the spine and the health of the shoulders, the knees, the hips and the ankles. Settling here in your swan stretch, adjust it to a child pose if you prefer. So we're going to move through now to a different set of poses. So opening up now into a down dog. So bring yourself up to a dog. This time, if you want to, you can bring it into a bit more of an active dog. We're going to sweep the left leg up this time and bring ourselves through into a Prasarita position. But this time we're going to change it into more of a goddess pose. So the feet are going to come in a bit closer. The toes are going to go out to the side and the knees are going to track the toes. We've got to roll the inner thighs out and sit down with the bottom. So sitting down here carefully. So keeping that weight nicely even over the bandhas, mula bandha, particularly pelvic floor. So sitting nice and upright and sitting down to where we feel comfortable, not too low, okay, somewhere where you can hold this position. The legs aren't going to move. We're going to sort of snake the torso now. So bring the hands down towards the knees, push into the knees and the thighs, roll the shoulders back and down the back. So we sort of lift the heart slightly. You can feel the back engage. Drop the opposite shoulder to opposite knee. So this would be left shoulder to right knee. Come back up to the center, and then we're going to spin to the other side. Right shoulder to left knee. Keep lengthening through the spine. Bring yourself back up. Move to the other side. Take your time. This is not a rushed pose or sequence of poses. It's a flow, yes, but it's very slow. You can take your time listening to the engagement in the back, the mid-back, the shoulders. Carefully does it. The weight shifts lightly from side to side, but keep well anchored through both feet. Taking it both sides again if you can. Using the breath. Taking a couple more if you feel able to. Bringing yourself back up to standing. It starts to build quite a lot of heat in the face, that one, as you're hanging down and moving through. Harder work than it looks. So then carefully does it now. We're going to start to move ourselves into the side angle stretch. So we're going to move into a warrior two position. So just shift your foot position out. Bring that front knee bent over the ankle or just behind, so that alignment just right. And then just cement down through that the four corners of the feet at the back. So we're going to make sure that we're just really nicely centered over the pelvic floor. So the pelvic bowl is settled in the middle and there's not too much weight forward or back. Stretch the arms out wide, palms first if that helps you. Softening the elbows, draw the shoulders down the back. Here we're going to take a variation. So we're going to bring the elbow inside. So if we're bending right elbow to right knee, right thigh, you're going to bring the right elbow inside the right thigh, but the hand is going to swivel out the back as if you're just batting something away and just hook around the outside of the thigh. Drop the shoulders down the back, tuck in the bandhas and lengthen here as you stretch through the top of the head. And rotate. So you're just bringing into a sort of strange variation here of our Utthita Parsvakonasana. So it's a shoulder opener. So the lower shoulder is sort of really activated and stretching isometrically against the thigh, and we're stretching the left arm up. And then change the hand position. So you're opening the chest and bringing the hands into the Marcel Marceau semi-cactus position. So you can drop the elbow slightly in this one. So it's not a pure cactus position, more sort of mime artist. Swap yourself over to the other side as you bring yourself back up, swivel round, get your positioning just right in your Virabhadrasana 2, settling right over the middle, getting the foot engagement just right. Drop the shoulders down the back and just scoop the shoulder blades in to pop the heart open. Lifting up the arms, stretching away, settling nicely in your warrior two, and then down to the left side. So left elbow inside of left thigh, just bat that hand backwards and hook around the outside of the knee. Keep drawing the shoulders back and down the back as you open up through the chest, spin and lift the top arm up. So the right arm is high, left arm is low. You'll feel a big shoulder sort of stretch through the base shoulder and keep lengthening. Keep thinking about the alignment of the spine as you bring then the hands into a semi-cactus pose. Keep the base arm in position and then just bring the top arm into sort of cactus or mime artist hands. Push through the front foot, bring yourself back up and settle. Resting yourself here, back up into the middle. Excellent. Okay, so that's opened up the shoulders a little bit more. There's still a fair bit of shoulder work to do. Breathing out over that left leg, bringing down into your chaturanga to your up dog, or you're resting prone and lifting up into Sphinx, and then carefully bring yourself into down dog. So we're going to take variations on Vashisthasana now. So this another side angle stretch, which is sort of like an elaborate plank. There are lots of variations of this pose. We're going to take 2 variations. So if you're very happy with a full Vashisthasana, with the feet stacked on top, really active through both legs and all 4 corners of the feet, and drawing that energy up the legs into the belly, then feel free to take your full Vashisthasana on both sides, and then add in, if you prefer a bit of energy, some Diabolasana as well, so spinning from side to side in a flow-like manner. I'm going to take everybody through the bent leg version, which is still a really nice pose, still a big ask of the shoulders, builds bone density and strength through the torso and the shoulders and the forearms. So just bring yourself carefully here. We're going to have the left arm just moved in slightly underneath the shoulder head of the left shoulder. So get the alignment just right. And then we're going to bring the opposite leg through. So it will be left leg through to the right. So left hand cementing down, left leg through to the right hand side, thread the needle with the leg as it were, push through, make a gate leg of your bent leg and stretch away through the back leg. So position yourself, push down through both feet and lift the pelvis and cinch both sides of the waist, and there's energy zipping up and down through all the limbs. Keeping the nice alignment. Again, if you're taking your up-leveled Vashisthasana, feel free. You can take a swan stretch in the middle of this pose if you need to just release off the shoulders and the hips. And then you're bringing your right hand into position. So underneath the shoulder head, pushing down, bringing the right leg through to the left hand side, gate legging it, pushing down through both feet. You can't quite see my back leg there, but it's nicely in alignment, and stretch through nice and straight, pushing down through all 4 corners of the feet, stretching up, really popping the heart through to the front, lifting the pelvis and cinching the sides of the waist. Carefully transfer yourself down into your swan stretch child pose to release that off. So you can take that again if you prefer. You can take it on both sides if you like. It doesn't have to be held for too long. It builds heat very quickly, that one. So take your time. You don't have to expend lots of energy. If you're looking to conserve energy at the moment, which you might want to do for the benefit of your immune system, then just take your time with these poses and only do as many breaths and holds as you feel comfortable with. So we're going to bring ourselves down to seated now. So in a change to our sort of usual Marichyasana, this is a variation. So I'm going to pull the fleshy parts out of underneath the bottom. Legs are out straight in front. And we're going to bring a bent leg variation in, but it's going to be a different one here with a shoulder surprise, should we say. So I'm going to turn to the side so you can see it a bit better. Setting up nice and tall, straight over the legs, get yourself nicely stacked, and you bring, instead of bringing the leg into the traditional Marichyasana, which is close to the bottom, we're going to bring the foot only halfway up the leg. There's still a bit of space in between as well. So the knee is nicely in alignment with the hip bone. Okay, it's not too in, it's not too out. It's fully aligned with the sort of proportion of your pelvis. We're going to sit up nice and tall. I'm going to bring the left arm around the right knee. Take care not to hug that knee in. Okay, you might want to bring a block or the Tupperware box in behind you to just give yourself temporarily a little bit of lift through the spine, but we're going to bring both arms into play. So we're going to stretch that arm across now. Keep resisting the arm with the leg so that the leg doesn't cave towards the center line. Use that stretch through the shoulders to pop the heart open and draw the shoulder blades down the back and really activate the upper body. And that Marcel Marceau semi-cactus arms pushing forward. The left leg is really active. The right leg is really active. The bandas are engaged. And then change it into Namaste hands. So again, keep pushing the heart forward, drawing the shoulders down the back, but press the hands together now. Keep tall through the spine. Release it off back to the center when you're ready. You can take this one for quite a long time. It's a nice sort of wring out of the digestive system and the spine here. So take your time and use the breath. When you're ready, swap yourself onto the other side. Just bending that leg and bringing it only halfway up the body, making sure the alignment is just right with the hip joint, bringing your Tupperware box or your block back behind you to just temporarily give you that spinal lift, really stretching up through the top of the head. This time, right hand to left knee. Take care not to pull that knee out of alignment. Hook that right elbow over left knee now across. Sit up nice and tall, give yourself the lift, and draw your energy up the legs and out into the heart and the chest. So drawing the shoulders down the back, sitting up nice and tall, and then hands to namaste. Keep pressing here, keep lengthening. Lovely. The right leg is really active here, breathing. Take your time, and then when you're ready, release back to the center. Free up the block, and we're going to carefully bring ourselves into a different seated position now. So bringing both knees in, this is your counter pose. So pose, counter pose in our seated work today. The feet are a little bit way away, and you might not be quite in a right angle knee, or you might have the feet a little bit closer together if you know your Purvottanasana and you're very happy with it. Fingers behind the body, so the fingers are underneath the shoulder heads, not underneath the torso. Push down, pop the heart open, stretch through the top of the head as you start to draw the shoulders down the back. You can see my back arch there. Lengthening and lifting. This might be enough for you, just popping the heart through to the front and creating that space in the front of the body. Push and lift and lengthen, lifting the bottom off the floor if that feels comfortable. Dropping the head back if that is suitable for you. Avoiding the lockout of the elbows and just making sure that we're comfortable. So draw the energy up the legs, and you've got the optional leg lift here. So you can lift the leg or lift the other leg. Keep the buoyancy of the pose, keep drawing the bandhas in, keep shortening the sides of the torso to just bring that energy into the pose, and keep the musculature working to keep that heavy pelvis and femur bones lifted. Staying here if you can manage it, or carefully lowering yourself down to the floor. One bit at a time, settle yourself down. Lovely, nice work. So carefully then taking ourselves into an opposed counter pose. You've got an option to take a vinyasa here if you're feeling the need to keep the energy up. So feel free to take your vinyasa here. We're all going to meet shortly in another seated pose. So when you've finished your vinyasa, you can bring yourself back down to lying. So backing down from a down dog onto our fronts. So again, looking at our Sphinx. So bringing Sphinx and seal variation into position now. We've already done Sphinx today, so hopefully the shoulders are feeling a little bit freer now, a bit warmer, certainly. Certainly the back is warming up and freeing up, so we can lift each leg away, lift and lengthen through the top of the head as you draw the shoulders back and down, and pop the heart through to the front. There's a slight sort of pulling together of the arms to just really get the musculature of the upper back and the mid back into position, and using the serratus as well to help create buoyancy for the chest. Lovely. And then you can start to straighten the arms if it feels comfortable on the lower back. If it doesn't, don't go higher than your Sphinx, but then straightening the arms into your seal pose. So they'll be now at a 45-degree angle to the floor. The shoulders are still drawing down the back. The heart is still popping through to the front, and we're holding and lengthening. You don't have to look up, straight up, or slightly elevated in seal. You can cast the gaze, the drishti, down a little bit if you prefer. And then slowly bring yourself out, make a little pillow for your head, and windscreen wipe your legs to release your lower back. Breathing here. So then settling, just checking in with all the joints, how you feel they've been working today, hopefully freeing up sort of any fuzz, if you like, for want of a better, more technical term, any fuzz in those joints, in the synovial spaces in the joints. So moving things around a little bit. So we're going to take now our sandwich box or our yoga block. If you've got a sandwich box, what you might need to do is just grab a little blanket or something to just take the hard edges off it, because we're going to be resting our head on it now. So A, it shouldn't be moving, and B, make it comfortable for yourself. If it's better with a pile of cushions, that's also fine. So you'll see how we get into position here. We're lying on our left side first, resting our head on the block, and the arm is nicely aligned straight out of the shoulder joint. So coming straight out in front with the left arm. And we're just going to set ourselves. The legs can be any position that suits you, sort of fetal position or legs on top of each other, however you feel nicely balanced. Get yourself nicely aligned through the spine. And we're going to bend at the elbow. So bringing the left arm bent at the elbow, and then we're just bringing the relaxation through the wrist, flopping the hand, and just letting the hand drop down to the floor. So the elbow is still at a right angle, but now the forearm is going down towards a 45-degree angle, or possibly more, towards the floor in front of you. Just guide that down. So you're gently going into a supraspinatus stretch here, pushing down on the wrist and just creating a gentle, relaxed stretch. So this is a sort of passive stretch here where we're just pushing through and releasing it off. And then we're going to change it into an active stretch. We're going to flip the hand back up in line with the forearm and now resist. So the lower arm is resisting the pressure of the upper arm. Hold. You can feel the change in the shoulder girdle. Revert back to the passive stretch. So flip that hand down to the floor, relax it down and push with the top hand. And then revert to the active. So really resist, push away, and just got even pressure up and down. So it's a push-pull action through the hands and release it off. Repeat a couple of times if you prefer. It's a really nice stretch for the shoulder. And it's not an area we get into very frequently. So you might notice if you start to practice this regularly that it has quite a significant effect on shoulder health and how your shoulders and neck are feeling, particularly if you find you're creating tension in the neck and shoulders sitting too much or working at a desk. Onto the other side now. So we're bringing the right arm into position. Check that alignment of the elbow with the shoulder head. We're going to really sort of flop that hand and just guide the forearm down to the floor so you feel the stretch deep in the shoulder head. Pushing and then resisting. So flip that hand up, make it active, and really sort of use and activate all the muscles of that lower arm. Push against the top arm and push down with the top arm. So there's a push-pull action. You can feel the change in the stretch in the shoulder. Breathing here. Relax the wrist, go down and push down again with the top hand. Relax it, relax the lower arm, stretching it through. Breathing here. You might find on the second time of asking that the lower arm goes a little bit lower. Keep breathing. And carefully does it. Take the resistance stretch again. Take it a couple more times on this side if you want to. And we're carefully going to move ourselves out of this position. So we're going now into pectoral stretches, shoulder stretches. So back onto our fronts. It's quite a lot moving around in this session. So we're going into cactus arms. We've done this before with straight arms usually. So we're going to do two variations here. So it's going to be a cactus arm. So left cactus arm, checking the alignment of the elbow coming straight out of the shoulder head. And then the right hand in towards the face, right leg bent. Push down, bring that right leg across to the left hand side so it opens up the pelvis and push down through the left hand. You'll feel a stretch going across the shoulder, possibly down the arm, and then into the chest on the left hand side. Just let the pose develop, let the stretch develop, keep breathing here. Loosen it off slightly, but not all the way over, and then either lift the hand or lift the whole arm in cactus. That's harder than it sounds. So work carefully, keep drawing the shoulder down the back and just lift that arm off. When you're ready, swap to the other side. So careful with the alignment of the cactus on the right hand side, pushing down through the left, the left leg going over, feeling the stretch coming on through the arm, shoulder and chest on the right side. Loosen it off slightly, lift that hand and or arm and bring yourself back. Back onto the front of the body, take your back release if you need it. Okay, revert into lying hug if you need to, roll onto your back and hug yourself. Okay, carefully does it then, rearranging ourselves, staying on our fronts. And releasing that lower back. Now, here we're bending our legs, taking ourselves into Dhanurasana. So this is upward bow pose. Doesn't have to be extreme. You can use a strap if you want, or straps too, to catch both feet. Just bend at the elbows and start to guide the feet towards the bottom. It's a nice stretch through the front of the hip flexors, down the quads into the knees. Up to you if you want to then grow the pose, push the hands and feet into the body and lift the chest. Okay, it doesn't have to be a mega pose. Keep drawing the shoulders down the back and lifting up. When you're ready, release it off. If you need to windscreen wiper the legs, do, or you can flip over and take your full Apanasana, knees to chest. So onto our backs then, flipping over, carefully does it. Stretch the arms wide into the cruciform position. I'm going to take the back openers now to finish. Wide legs here, slotting out the legs. So we're carefully just dropping one knee inside the other leg. So it's a bit like the Isle of Man flag here. We're just rotating. Or then moving into a slightly deeper stretch, crossing the legs, keep stretching away and drawing the shoulders down the back, stretching away through the arms. Lowering yourself down to the floor on one side and keeping the opposite shoulder nicely grounded into the floor here. Stretching away and breathing. Taking here each side in turn, crossing the legs onto the other side. And here's a chance as well, potentially, if you need to take any variations on a theme, then feel free to do that. So if you need to take any different variations of your back openers, feel free to do that. Flip the legs out, hug the knees into the chest, releasing the lower back. And then carefully, when you're ready, you're going to bring yourself into a Shavasana. So your call here, we've done quite a lot of work on the lower back and the hips. So you decide which form of Shavasana would be best. So you could be more comfortable potentially or more rested on your right hand side in a fetal position. You can always pop one of the sofa cushions or the blocks underneath your head for comfort. Prop yourself up. If you're 30 weeks or more pregnant, then carefully does it. You would be on your left hand side with yourself propped. Bring yourself into your Shavasana now, so make yourself settled. So we're continuing here then to contemplate our bodies. We're going to settle into the floor, make sure that we're warm and comfortable and submitting to gravity. So thinking about how we cultivate in our constricted circumstances at the moment, a bit more of a mindful attitude. So reaching in for our soul. So this is about tuning into our unique inner aliveness. You could call it soul, you could call it spirit, you could call it prana. Lots of groups of people call it different things. So whatever you prefer to call it. So we're tuning into ourselves, tuning into our breath, into our bodies, and then shining a light inside, experiencing the sheer joy of being soul, not ego. Open your eyes and look from your soul. Watch with love and compassion. So we are looking with our hearts rather than our heads. Use soft eyes to see differently, to settle into the moment, to be here and not to judge. Use those soft eyes to scan your body for any tension, taking your time, working up through the body. And think about those actions that you can take. They're quite small actions that you can take in your daily life at the moment to increase the depth of soulfulness, activating your senses. Smell, taste, touch, look and hear. Tune back into the world around you lovingly. Let the taste of fruit or the smell of coffee or the sound of the rushing wind reconnect you with life. And I'm sure you can think of other things which will tune into. Collect those fleeting encounters that speak to you of a different narrative. Those moments of serendipity or synchronicity, a stranger giving you bread to feed the ducks. Or something happening that is just pure coincidence. Pay attention to them. Notice any trends or voices emerging and let them speak to you. When you're taking your daily exercise, have the awareness and take the time to say hello to everyone you see. Listen patiently and deeply to someone, tuning in lovingly, attentively. Try to listen and to hear something beyond their words. Listen to a piece of music as carefully as you did to that person. Tune into it. Let it speak beyond the notes. You can try this with a piece of music that you know really well, or something you've never heard before. So very gently bringing your awareness back to the sounds you can hear in the room, how your skin feels against the air and your body against the floor. Gently move your fingers and your toes to bring a bit of life back into your limbs. And as we head towards 65 minutes, we're just carefully and slowly via an apanasana or a long dog stretch, bringing ourselves back up into a comfortable seated position when you're ready. So thank you for joining me in this practice today of exploring yoga. We're going to be back on our mats on Friday, tomorrow. Hopefully, it might be a live practice if the weather is good. So hopefully we come live to you from the garden. Have a lovely rest of week. Breathe in, bring your hands up above your head. Thank you, and namaste.